Alright everybody, thanks for sticking with us here into the second round. Round 2 of FNM tonight, featuring two gentlemen that have been on the stream before, featuring at least one gentleman who has occupied the seat next to me for an entire broadcast. I'll get their names up here in a second, but while I'm sorting out that business, let me go ahead and start the clock here. We are live from Lost Legion Games and Comics in South Charleston, West Virginia. Yes, West Virginia is in fact a state, and we are all here playing Magic. On the left we have Scotty Wright, who is playing a blue-red Delver deck. It's actually pretty interesting. I was talking with him before the event about... It's halfway between an old blue-red Delver deck and some kind of blue-red tempo base. Like I know Delver is a tempo deck by default, but it's kind of like a counter-burn kind of deck. There's a lot more controlling cards in it than you would expect. And on the right we have Jordan Pectyo, who is playing a blue-white control deck. So, should be good times. Should be two Tier 1 decks. Both of these gentlemen are going to the state tournament tomorrow, so they're getting some practice in. We appreciate everybody who's watching.
These guys are both way more competitive, so this should be more interesting.
For those of you who are watching in the first round, or for those of you who weren't watching in the first round, in the very first round we did end up having two matches because the first match ended pretty quickly. But in the first round we had one of our local legends and shop regular, Dave Brown, play his first standard game in what is probably a calendar year with a deck that many people in the chat pointed out was not necessarily Tier 1. So we had the fun match underneath our belts. We now have two Tier 1 decks and competitive players. So we should have a good time. Both these players are just confirming that they're 1-0. I would assume that they are 1-0, but. So it should be a good game here. I actually have Jordan's deck list, so let's talk a little bit about it. His high end. Oh, I stand corrected. He is not playing blue-white. There are black cards in this deck, so this is an Esper control list. He told me that earlier, and it's my fault for not recognizing. But he's playing a lot of control cards. He is playing one Unburial Rights. His high end is Gristlebrand and Angel of Serenity. As we see, Scotty Wright, in every format possible, playing Delver. Does it flip? It does not. So a moral victory for I almost asked if Scotty was at 18 because he probed. Then I remembered that wasn't a card that's legal anymore. Then I remembered that Shocklands were legal. So Delver does not flip. We see a pillar on a New Prof Guild Mage.
Got the flip there.
Mm-hmm. And then we see an Izzet Charm. Does Izzet Charm exile?
No, puts it on top of the library.
Okay, so it's a... Interesting. So Jordan is resolving an alchemy here. We see a Terminus, Angel of Serenity, and an Unburial Rights. Isn't that the best thing that can possibly happen? If only he had done that at the end of last turn, that would have been the nuts, right? I can hear him out there in a very gleeful voice. He's very excited that the Unburial Rights flipped. So, he's revealing a card. I don't know what that is. If it's a miracle, it's irrelevant, isn't it? The miracles he's playing are Cyclonic Rift and Terminus, neither of which is good here. You just Unburial Rights your don't you just Unburial Rights your Angel here? Or is he giving Scott credit for counterspells?
Probably counterspell. What's that blue card in Scott's hand there?
He has a Tamiyo in his hand, and he has an Unsummon.
Ah.
We're slowing it now. We don't have Vapor Snacks, so we have to go back to just old school Unsummon. If it was good enough for Alpha, it should be good enough for us, right? Yes, I was pointing out, I don't know what I'm talking about. Cyclonic Rift isn't a miracle, so I just made it.
It's got the overload.
I'm just making up rules to Magic as we go along, which is not uncommon. So there we go. So there's Unburial Rights. So, in response, Scotty is going to unsummon his Delver to prevent it from getting exiled by the Angel. Unfortunately, Jordan does not have, because the Pillar exiled his Guild Mage, he can't get any value off of rebuying that from his own graveyard, but what do you think about this Angel Serenity?
I don't particularly like it personally. I guess it does.
I know you're not a huge fan of it. You know who is a huge fan of it?
Everyone else in the world.
Yeah, the internet, because that card has gone from like a $6 to $8 pre-order on eBay into, I believe that card is now 20 or 25 on Star City.
How big is he? Like a 6'4" or something?
Well, let's just bring it up. I think he's a 5'5". I'm sure someone in the chat will beat me to it, but
Why not unsummon the Angel? That's a valid point.
I think the idea there is that unsummoning the Angel is basically just a fog. At this point, he can try and race with the Angel if they
Yeah, he doesn't have anywhere
attacks.
near the white source.
Oh yeah, gosh, man, it's been a long week. I've been out of town all week.
So he is actually
a 5/6 flyer. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a 6 in there somewhere.
Yeah, I just made a mistake there. I recognize he can't recast it, so that was probably a better play. But again, these are players playing with new decks, so there's going to be a certain learning curve as Scott gets in with Snapcaster.
Is that O-ring on a Pike?
I think maybe the reason that he bounced the Delver is because he had the Snapcaster and was going to rebuy his Unsummon. Because if he didn't do that in that order, he would have never. He would have. I don't think it nets any card advantage at that point. I think it might have just been the wrong play. But he did it. It's done. Who cares? Let's move on. Lots of haters out in the chat today.
There is a substantial amount of criticism happening.
That's fine. We're big boys who can take it. One thing I would reiterate to everyone in the stream, and anyone watching after the fact, is at no point will we claim to be world-class Magic players. Brett might. He'll be lying, but he might do it.
Hey, I have probably infected more people than anyone else in the world.
You have cast a fair amount of cards with Infect. So, Jordan's hitting on 6 mana. His Glacial Fortress is effectively detained by the Tamiyo.
And I know I saw a Syncopate in Scotty's hand there, so I guess
he flipped that off the Delver. So,
oh, did he?
So we know he has it. So we see a non-overloaded Rift on the Delver. Buys Jordan some time. I'm sure he would have. Well, it costs 7 to overload, doesn't it? 6 in a blue?
6? I think 6.
6 in a blue. See Augur of Bolas revealing a Searing Spear. I could not see what the other cards are.
We can, in fact, read your messages.
Yes. If you are in the chat, we can see what you have to say. So, he revealed a Devil's Play off of the Augur of Bolas, so Jordan's clock is very short at this point. Jordan cycling to think twice, not finding any business. He does not look long for the world right now. So someone is just asking in the chat that, because they're watching on a phone, if we can name all the permanents on the table. That's a bit much, but Jordan does not have anything in play except an O-ring, removing Scotty's Runechanter's Pike. Scotty has an unflipped Delver, an Augur of Bolas, and a Snapcaster. He is now Pillar of Flaming Jordan.
4 game.
Yeah. Well, the Pillar doesn't kill him, but it was with the Devil's Play would have been enough. So Scotty gets the first one, and now they move to their sideboards. Like I said, I have a deck list for Jordan, so let's take a look here and see what he might be bringing in. In his sideboard, 2 Supreme Verdict, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 1 Elixir of Immortality, 2 Tributes to Hunger, 2 Pithing Needles, 2 Sundering Growth. That is the hybrid Disenchant Populate card, isn't it?
Yes.
2 Torment's Crypt and 2 Curse of Death's Hold. So, in this matchup, I guess the curses would probably come in. He might bring in Pithing Needles because he saw Tamiyo in the first game, but I'm not sure if that is a good strategy. Sundering Growth, I'm going to bring it up here as well. Yeah, it's a disenchant effect that does in fact populate, so he might bring those in for Pikes. Scotty is playing 3 Pikes. I'm not sure how much weight Jordan's going to put on removing those Pikes, because a lot of the old Delver lists, Pikes seem to rotate in and out of favor. Some weeks it was all in on 2 or 3 Pike plans. Some weeks there was no Pikes at all. So
yeah, it seems pretty good here. I mean, Scotty's playing a lot of instants.
Yeah, he has Supreme Verdict as well. I think he'd probably find a spot for those more than the curses, simply because Scotty is the beat down in this matchup, and he is running counterspells. So likely bringing those, likely bringing in Sundering Growth, maybe a Torment's Crypt. I don't know if Torment's Crypt is that good. Torment's Crypt is a lot worse than Surgical Extraction, which we lost to rotation, but Surgical Extraction was an answer to everything.
And it remains to be so in Legacy.
It's still good in Legacy. Okay, just a quick reset there to let everyone know what's going on. We are currently live from Lost Legion Games and Comics in South Charleston, West Virginia. My name is Zachary Evans. I'm joined by Brett Rose, and we are bringing you coverage of Friday Night Magic, the first Friday Night Magic Standard Tournament featuring new cards from Return to Ravnica. We are currently in round 2 with Scotty, Wright, and Jordan Pectyo both on 1 win. Scotty 1 game to the good here in this matchup of Blue-Red Delver versus Esper Control. So, we talked a little bit about Jordan's sideboard. You saw his deck in action. His low end is a New Prov Guild Mage and Lee of Sky Knight. The Sky Knight is 3/1 that detains, right?
Yeah.
Flyer. And the New Prov Guild Mage I'm actually not incredibly familiar with.
He's the one that gives flying and detains for 5. He gives flying for 2.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is that the one that last week Scott used in the draft video?
Yes, sir.
So let's take a look at this New Prov Guild Mage. So for 2, it gives everything flying. Like I said, if you go back and watch last week's archive footage, we did cover the Return to Ravnica launch party drafts last week, and one of our draft winners managed to take good advantage of the ability to give everything flying. And then for 5, you can detain target non-land permanent opponent controls, which is basically Frost Titan, right? Frost Titan it's a Faith Fetters meets Frost Titan type ability. So
yeah, he's just good.
Pretty strong.
What he is.
Yeah. So he's playing 2 of those. He's playing 2 of the Sky Knights as basically low end threats, and then he has 2 Desecration Demons, 2 Grizzlebrand, 2 Angel of Serenity. In the first game, he did manage to unburial rights his Angel. That was a 1-of. He's also playing 3 Cyclonic Rifts, 3 Terminus, some Think Twice's, 1 Sphinx's Revelation, and 1 Supreme Verdict main.
How do you like Terminus with all those creatures he's trying to win with?
Well, the idea is that he's going to be resolving his sweeper before he lands one of his 8 drops, I figure, but it's fine. I think it's fine. He's not hardcore on the reanimation plan. That's just an out he's given himself. He's also, most importantly, playing 1 O-Ring, 2 Detention Spheres, but his Planeswalker package is 2 Jace, Architect of Thought, and 2 Tamiyo. So, quite a good box of goodies. All of his lands are just mana producers. There's nothing fun about that. No vaults, no lighthouses, as he's not playing red. So looks like Scotty kept on 7, Jordan down to 6, correct?
Yeah.
Happens to the best of us, right?
Well, sometimes. I'm trying to imagine a world where Jordan's hand is good. I just don't like playing decks like that. It's... about right.
So, alright. While they're cutting, we mentioned the YouTube channel before. If you want to get in touch with us, follow us on literally every form of social media. Just look for Zach Sells Magic as a username on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, or Twitch. And as I iterated last week, it would really help us. If you're watching us on Twitch right now, we appreciate your patronage. If you could follow us on Twitch, basically subscribe to our channel, you'll get an email notification anytime our stream goes live. So if we have an event like tomorrow at States that's not part of our usual Friday schedule, if we do a Legacy or Casual Draft or Cube Draft during the middle of the week, and it's unannounced, you can get information about that. So we appreciate your patronage. We currently have more viewers than we have ever had before.
What's our number?
We have topped off at 106, so
that's solid.
Pretty impressive. We appreciate you guys tuning in to a little store in West Virginia as we play Magic, and as a few trolls in the chat have pointed out, maybe not maybe a little sloppy, and there may be some room for improvement, but
this is the Chemical Valley. We've killed a few brain cells.
We're having a good time. That's all that matters. So, Jordan Rossaro's Forbidden Alchemy. Like I said, we are having some issues with glare tonight. I don't know exactly why, but if you could remind me, Brett, if we go to Game 3 in this match, or at least before it, we're going to make a quick note in the studio here so that we know to fix the glare if we can. Should be able to sort that out here shortly, but...
So, you mentioned Legacy.
So, this is the first time in the history of our stream we have a Jace Architect of Thought resolved. And now we see our very first ever mini Factor Fiction revealing Supreme Verdict. Is that a Guild Mage? And then no, it's a Hallowed Fountain, isn't it?
Yes, Hallowed Fountain and a Plains.
So he's going to take the Supreme Verdict there, I think.
They do not go in the graveyard. They go on the bottom of the library.
I think in this set of blocks, that would be way too strong if you actually just bend them, because there's a lot of synergy there with all the Innistrad cards. Jordan cheats, just throwing cards everywhere, as we see a Pillar of Flame take out the Jace Architect of Thought. But even in that situation, where it's like worst case scenario, which is you resolve your Planeswalker, you get a mini Factor Fiction, it gains you 2 life, or eats a removal spell that's going to take out one of your creatures, that's pretty solid for 4 mana. I'd play it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't kick it out of bed, especially when you follow up with a turn 5 Tamiyo. So
seems decent.
We see Scotty boarded in Tormod's Crypt here. I'm not sure. I think this is one of those examples where if you play a deck that has a lot of one-ofs, you can inadvertently level your opponent, because the Unburial Rights plan that Jordan went with in the first game, that was just a one-of. That was just a very fortunate coincidence, and Scotty is sideboarded accordingly for it. So we see Jordan detain Talrand there, and then resolve yet another Jace Architect of Thought. So Jordan's playing mono Planeswalkers here. Seems like a pretty good plan. Now we're going to resolve yet another Factor Fiction. So we do see the Sundering Growth. He did bring that in. Jordan keeps it. He's going to take out likely the Runechanter's Pike. I don't think he's really afraid of the Crypt. Like I said, I think that's just an overcompensation that Scott made based on not knowing what Jordan's exact. Okay, so hope everyone is back there. It looks like we dropped the stream for a little while. Not sure exactly what's going on there, but hopefully things are sorted out. What? So I can't tell what Jordan is resolving there. Oh, it's the detained bird.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm not sorry we're distracted here. We did lose the we did drop the stream there briefly. So if anyone still suffering the effects of that, I apologize. If anyone could confirm whether or not the stream dropped out there for a little bit in the chat, I would greatly appreciate it. Sorry that you're now probably having to watch another commercial, but anyway, back to the, hopefully everything is back and squared away there. Sorry about that. But back to the game here. We still have a Jace on board. Scotty did manage to deal with the Tamiyo via burn spells, and Jordan has played his Sky Knight. And now we see a Supreme Verdict. So, pretty strong play there.
How do you like Supreme Verdict?
I mean, Supreme Verdict is a great Magic card. It's a great Wrath. Most of the decks that you're going to... I mean, with the mana base, with the Shocklands now and the Gates, you can play whatever you want, so the blue factor is not really a big deal. The problem is most of the cards in Standard that people are playing, they're not things you can deal with a Wrath. I mean, the Thragtusk still makes a token. All of the zombies still come back.
Yeah.
The fact that it's uncounterable is almost irrelevant. It's only in this very specific control mirror, so...
Yeah.
So we see Jordan resolve the Think Twice. I'm going to go ahead and flash it back. Looks like we've had a problem with the stream again. The same thing happened last week at the same exact time. Piss me off.
We can only...
Alright everyone, I'm not entirely sure if we are back live or not, but we had a pretty monumental network failure here at the shop. Obviously I'm only as good as my internet connection, so hopefully we are back live. I apologize that we have missed the majority of the second game of our feature match, but that is simply what has happened, so we're making the best of it. Recapping where we are currently, we are in round 2 of tonight's FNM with about 10 minutes to go. Scotty right on your left playing Blue-Red Delver. One game up on Jordan Pectyo, who's playing an Esper control deck. We just see Scotty resolve, or use his Torment's Crypt to blow up Jordan's graveyard. Jordan does have an Angel Serenity, however, in play, removing one of Scott's Delvers and his new Prov Guild Mage. So, and looking at the life totals, which I haven't updated since the network failure, we have Scotty sitting on 14. So, Scotty Devil plays the Angel, eliminating that threat and recasting the Delver. So, Jordan getting in there with his Guild Mage. And passes. So, Delver flips on to Think Twice.
Seems good.
Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad whatsoever. So, again, for those of you who stuck in there with us, really appreciate it. We lost about half the viewers that we had previously, which is very depressing for me, but I'm not sure. We did have some network problems last week as well. I honestly don't know what the issue is there. We will try to sort that out in future weeks, but as for tonight, everyone keep their fingers crossed out there. Think good thoughts, Brett, and we'll...
I'm doing my voodoo.
Alright, so Scotty resolves a Bonfire, clears the board. Jordan answers with the Zori's Charm on the Delver, so...
That Charm's just been doing work for him both games here.
Jordan resolving a Forbidden Alchemy. I see 3 lands and a Terminus. resolving a think twice. Jordan's deck is failing to produce him any business is basically the end result of all this. So.
Surprise, he top decked a Delver.
It looks like from checking in on the chat there, it looks like Magic Online is down. Might be one of the reasons why we're seeing a lot of interest in unscheduled maintenance. I think it's the second day in a row that they've had unscheduled maintenance. So I don't know what is exactly going on there, but resolving a Sky Knight here, detaining the Delver. Scotty responds with the first half of the Think Twice. Why he doesn't resolve the second half to the Think Twice, I'm not sure. Surely he's sideboarded in Dissipates. Oh, he couldn't have cast. Yeah, he could cast Dissipate. He drew a gate, so I guess it didn't matter. But that's results-based thinking. He should have probably resolved the other half of it.
He drew a Pike with the first half of Think Twice.
Yeah. So he's representing lethal here if you can find a way to get rid of the blocker, which I don't think he has in hand. It's got to be a pretty big Pike here. So he can flashback his Devil's Play, which will cost him, because the Sky Knight's 3/1, right? So 4 there, and then he has 5 mana left, so he can cast and equip the Pike and get in for what I can only imagine is 1 billion damage, because every card so far. Resolving a Sphinx's Revelation.
For how much?
Scotty Lighthouse in response. Jordan drew 3 cards, right?
Yep.
So you're drawing 3 life. You're drawing 3 cards, and you're getting.
I feel like he probably should have the Lighthouse.
So Jordan gets in there.
Another 3.
Jordan somehow has morphed into the beatdown here. As we are down to 6 minutes. Actually, our clock is very accurate. This is the first week we're having the clock, so I'm very pleased with that. And then Jordan resolves his Angel, right?
Yeah.
Rebuys his Guild Mage and bounces
The Delver.
Bounces the Delver.
Scotty's going to play Devil's Play for 6.
Which he does have. I don't know what's in Jordan's hand. I can't see if he has a counterspell or not. Counterspell should solve this one up, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess he'd have another turn, but...
But clearly, Jordan at this point is playing for the draw, as we're down to 5 minutes between 2 decks.
That's true.
But draw is just as important. Draw is basically as good as a win at this stage in the game, so... You do what you gotta do, right?
As much as Scotty says his deck can be aggro, I've never seen it. I play tested it.
I don't think it's aggro at all.
It has that potential. I'm like, no, I was like, we played like hour-long games all night last night.
Yeah, as we were joined in the booth by Brandon Hart, who we saw in round 1. The only thing aggressive about his deck is the Delvers themselves. The Pikes aren't even aggressive. The Pike is just like a creature enabler. It gives him some reach.
I mean, it's like right now every creature in his deck is a lethal weapon.
So someone in the chat is asking about Feeling of Dread. What is the collective feelings of the room on Feeling of Dread as a standard card? Obviously, it saw a lot of play in Innistrad block. Constructed in the Miracles build, it does fog a lot. It does buy a lot of time. Thoughts and opinions?
It's alright.
Brett makes a face like he just ate 1 million lemons, so I'm assuming that's not a fan of.
Yeah, I mean... I guess if you have to have something, then it works, but I just...
It's a good tempo card, especially when you're looking at decks like a zombies deck, where removing the creature is actually very difficult to do. So sometimes just fogging or tapping them down. As we see Scotty, he does in fact flashback the Devil's Play in his bin to get rid of the Angel. Jordan did not have a counterspell. Jordan does not have many cards left in his deck, which is interesting.
He's gonna deck himself.
Is he playing Laboratory Maniac combo? He would be the second person tonight on the camera playing Laboratory Maniac combo. He would also be the second person losing with Laboratory Maniac combo. So, did he write? Was the Wrights already in his bin? I guess it had to because he flashed it back, right? I guess you can afford in a deck like Jordan's. You can get away with that one-of when you're blasting through your entire deck. So Scotty has every mana in the world and nothing to do with it. He's got a pair of Snapcasters, He's got a Pike and the Delver that keeps getting bounced, right?
He has another Delver, I think.
It seems like that should come down.
Yeah, a lot of people are responding in the chat that's saying Azorius Charm is probably better than Feeling of Dread. I think it's one of those cards where I think it's one of those things where I think people they overuse the phrase strictly better or better than. I think both have their places. It just depends on what you're trying to do and what decks you expect to play against.
I actually love misusing the phrase strictly better than.
But that's because you love to grief people. So we see a flashback Bonfire for how much? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
No complaints over that cap. Evasion's kind of a sad miss.
Did he have enough mana to do that?
He usually finds someone though.
Did he have enough mana?
2, 1, and...
Oh, he had enough mana to clear out the other guys. He couldn't clear out the Angel. So, Scotty down to 1 life. Fortunately, Jordan is not playing red cards. We do see a flip of the Delver, so we will see a chump block.
But he can pike up and swing for game. He can pike up and swing for game with the Delver.
Does he have 20 instants?
He'll only need 10. Or no, he won't. He'll need 17.
I don't think he can get him.
I forgot it wasn't double strike. That was.
I think the Delver is probably just on chump blocking duties at this point. I mean, the Pike does make it more than a chump block, but I'm not sure he can afford to get in here.
I would have equipped to the Snapcaster, swung and equipped to the...
Yeah, that was probably a better play. Scotty just missed it, I think. That's very good. So Jordan is bouncing the Delver. He knows Scotty has a Dissipate, so I'm only assuming he has his own counterspell. If the Cyclonic Rift resolves,
We've seen Syncopates. Have we seen any other counter?
Scotty has negates and dissipates in the board.
I meant Jordan.
Ooh, I don't know actually.
Jordan just runs Syncopates.
Yeah, I think he's just.
He might have a couple dissipates, but I'm pretty sure
So we're going to see Scotty Snapcaster and Flash. Oh no, he's just going to straight up dissipate. Jordan doesn't care apparently.
I think he was just trying to get that out of there.
He's going to think twice. He's going to think once. The first half of that is thinking once. So now, Jordan will untap. Why did he not think the other half of it? Did he just miss that too? Is he a little frazzled here? As we come down to the very, very end of the round. So there we see a Detention Sphere. Scotty does not have enough mana to flash back any of his counterspells. He does have the Snapcaster, he does have Negate in the bin, he does not have the 4 mana he needs.
He does have the Scoop.
He does have the enter lose game mode. Well, it's a shame that that game was segmented, that we lost a good 5 minutes in between when we lost internet connectivity. Very interesting match between two very interesting decks, and I think a good example of new archetypes.
Yeah.
I think you're seeing a lot of cards in these decks that we don't usually see in a lot of, well, we haven't seen played in the previous standard, simply because new cards have been printed that enable that. So I'm stumbling all over myself. I just heard JB mention their time. For those of you wondering, we are at Lost Legion Games and Comics in South Charleston, West Virginia. I would have given you 100 guesses. You probably wouldn't have guessed that, but that is where we're at today. So we thank everyone for watching. I'm going to, I don't know why I've turned this clock back on. I don't know how I reset it. Let's switch. I think I did pause it. So here we are. Every time I come back to you, Cam, have you noticed I do this?
We're going to have to get prepared for this from now on.
Yep. So, my name is Zachary Evans. You're not Michael Taylor. We had Michael Taylor in the last round to talk about his zombie mid-range deck, so if you want to check that out, go back on YouTube probably after the weekend and check out our archives.
The
this
facial
is
hair
Brett
probably
Rose.
threw you, though.
Huh?
The facial hair probably threw you.
Yeah, so, and lingering off in the background here is Brandon Hart, who will be with us until the round starts. So the next round is about to start. They just called time. I imagine that the match that we just saw was the last round that was still, or the last game that was still being being contested.
They're playing game 3.
They are?
Yep.
Okay. So, we'll switch back then, I guess.
I guess there is a chance that Scotty can just...
These guys are trying to pound out
there it
that.
goes.
Okay, so I switched back just in time to see nothing happen. So, further proof that Scotty's deck is not aggro like he thinks.
Yeah.
So, in the little bit of time we have here before the next round, we would like to pimp once again. I'll be doing it all night. The West Virginia State Championship Tournament, which will be held in Beckley tomorrow, the Beckley Convention Center. I know most of you all are not in the metro area of West Virginia and won't be participating in that, but for anyone who is local and who's watching this stream, you should definitely come out to state championships. The first year that Lost Legion, who is our sponsor store here for the stream, is hosting that. Should be a good time. Great chance to come out and try out your new Return to Ravnica standard decks. If you want more information on any of the states and provincials, not just on the West Virginia event, but for the event that might be in your state, check out sleeveup.com for information on who the tournament organizer is and where your venue is, and more importantly, if it's on Saturday or Sunday. I have I make no claims as to any additional information about those. I mentioned it before, and I'm going to show it again. If you want to follow us on any variety of social media, everything we've ever recorded is up on YouTube at username ZachSellsMagic. You can follow me on Twitter, live tweet during the broadcast. We also have a Facebook page at ZachSellsMagic, and obviously, if you're watching us live now, you know where the Twitch stream is. Once again, I will say it every time I bring that up. Follow us on Twitch. You're already on Twitch. There are 90 of you watching. Just subscribe to us. You'll get an email notification anytime we go live. So if we have any unplanned non-FNM events...
Legacy's coming soon.
Legacy's coming soon. We are trying to have a Wednesday night Legacy event so as not to conflict with the other regional shops Thursday night Legacy event and not to conflict with the Tuesday night South Florida Magic Legacy stream. So we don't want to step on any toes or split the viewership there. So follow us on Twitch, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow me on Twitter, and friend me on Facebook. Also like. You can also like. You can also get on Facebook and find any variety of our local celebrities and stream feature match participants. You can friend them. Isn't that a wonderful sign that we've made?
It is not elf boobs.
It's not elf boobs. You might be asking yourself, what is Brett talking about, elf boobs? Well, that means you need to go back to the archives. And last week, draft 2, round 1, 2, or 3, Brandon's just going to ruin the surprise for me. So now there's no motivation to go to YouTube. But for the last, we've been doing this for what, 2 months? This is about the 7th week, I think.
Most likely, yeah.
So there was we're basically an equivalent of a broom closet back here, which is off of the play area, far enough away so they can't hear us. We do have a door we can shut. And for whatever reason, there was a Dice Company poster with like an emo, half-naked elf chick on it. And last week, the stream just degraded into this chat discussion of the poster. So it quickly started taking over. So we've moved that out.
I feel like you get a lot more viewers there.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I cannot argue with that.
That also coupled with Amber's.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about it. There was an unforeseen PG-13 scenario back then. One thing that I do want to talk about is this. Every week, we give away Magic cards as I'm being handed the round 3 pairings. Every week, we give away Magic cards. How do you want to win your own playset of rock, paper, scissors cards? Simply follow us on Twitter and retweet the giveaway tweet, which I will make here shortly, probably during the next round. I'm going to leave this up. I'm going to step out. You can probably hear them pairing up now. We're going to find you a feature match, and we'll be back very shortly.